chapter 16, right? Let's do the opening prayers and all, and then we'll talk about it. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviyam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Bhurvuvasvaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tameva Bandhu Cha Sakha Tameva Tameva Vidyat Dravinam Tameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva.
एक और टेबल लगा दे।
एक और टेबल लगाए?
नहीं लगा दे।
थोड़ा यहाँ से ऐसे सरक कर सबको के तो ठीक हो जाएगी।
I did not disturb everybody.
No, that's okay.
That's fine. We just started. Namaste.
Namaste.
Meet Durgaji, my sometime.
Oh, okay. Very nice to meet you.
Okay. I don't want to disturb. We can continue
Yeah.
and then we'll talk later.
So just to remind everybody, we were on chapter 16 before, 3 weeks ago. And we had done most of the shlokas. We are almost towards the end of it now. And some very important ones are coming. So according to the marking I did, we finished up to 19. I had sent it to everybody, right? You saw that.
20th,
so you
yeah.
have an idea. So we will...
20 today?
Yeah, we'll do 20. And just to have a connection with what we are doing. So he was talking about previous few verses, that how, firstly, this is about Devi quality and Dana quality kind of thing. And he calls it diabolically fallen, and some of the traits we might have it. And what happens to people who, have these negative traits and don't control it. You keep going down, and then we also talked about reincarnation, that how we are at a ladder in human birth. You can go up or down, so it's warning you that if you don't do it correct, there's a possibility of going down. So that's where we are. So let's do the shlok 20. You want to chant, right? Asurim yonimapanna Asurim yonimapanna Mudha janmani janmani Mudha janmani janmani Mama prapyaiva kaunteya Mama prapyaiva kaunteya Tato yantyadhamam gatim Tato yantyadhamam gatim. So I'll just do the Sanskrit part and then you can read it, Shri. So Asurim is demonic, Yonim is womb, Apanna entering into, Mura deluded, Janmani Janmani in birth after birth, Mama me, Aprapya means not attaining, Eva still, Kaunteya, O Kaunteya means that's Arjun, Kunti's son, Tataha. Then that yanti is fall into adhamam, lower, katim, condition, path or goal. So just to remind you that he uses very, very harsh language but no, we should not get scared. Try to understand what he's saying, that's all. Okay.
Entering into demonical wombs and deluded, not attaining to me, birth after birth, they thus fall, O Kaunteya, into a condition still lower than that. Tracing the line of fall of an Asura type of man, Krishna says that an individual having repeatedly reached as a result of his previous life the same Asuric environment, life after life, fails to realize the infinite joys of the self. They never climb the heights of cultural beauty but slowly sink lower and lower to reach the bottom grades of beings. So far, we had a vivid review of two types of men, the divinely good and the diabolically fallen. A majority of us, in varying degrees, belong to the latter class, my God. As a spiritual speaker is never satisfied merely with the theoretical explanations and descriptions, Krishna now advises the entire mankind through Arjuna on how even he who has fallen so hopelessly to the Asura level can learn to climb up and steadily progress in his spiritual evolution. None is eternally condemned, nor does anyone deserve a perpetual hell. Such a view is illogical, unphilosophic, and stupid.
So I saw you react when it said that most of us belong to the diabolically fallen. But remember, he gave so many different things.
Yes.
He's not saying we have everything of the diabolically fallen. He's just saying
We all have something bad in us.
yeah, and that's why we are a human. Otherwise, we'll be sitting in the heaven, right? We got birth because we have good and bad both.
Of course.
So so that's all it's saying that we recognize what is kind of negative and then we work on it. And to me, it's almost like a little bit of scare tactic that नहीं करेगा तो ये होगा तेरा.
डराएगा नहीं तो करेगा कैसे?
You know, in India, it is so common to tell the little kids, oh, वो कुत्ता तेरे को ये कर लेगा. And sometimes why you are scaring them, you know? But sometimes
it's not good. It makes them dark later on life.
yeah, but it's just one tactic. I think he's trying to cover all tactics.
Yes.
And it is the truth also that if we have some negative traits and we don't pay attention and keep doing more and more, we're going to fall further and further. And we see so many times. So, anybody has any comments or anything? And then last part is very important, that none is eternally condemned, right? Nor does one deserve a perpetual hell. That is illogical.
That's one good thing he has said, one good sentence.
Very good sentence. Because that's why he needs saints and sages to put us in right perspective.
Right.
That now in the next verse, he's going to tell you, what are the things that can do this and how to control it and what is the path. Because unless somebody tells us how to, then we don't know. So that's what is going to come. So, आप कुछ add करेंगे? Yeah. Self-explanatory. Yeah. The next one is actually very, very important one. Yeah. It's like almost the sar of this whole thing, this chapter. So, Trividam narakesyedam.
Trividam narakesyedam.
Dvaram nashanamaatmanaha.
Dvaram nashanamaatmanaha.
Kama krodastata lobha.
Kama krodastata lobha.
Tasmate tatrayam tyajet.
Tasmate tatrayam tyajet.
The Sanskrit is Trividham, means triple. Narkasya, of hell. Idam, this. Dwaram, gates. Nasham, destructive. Atmanaha, of the self. And what are the three, nark ke dwar bole unko? Kama is lust, means extreme desire. Krodha, anger. And also lobha, greed. So kama, krodha and lobha. And kama is has a lot of different deep meaning to it. Like when you have obsessive desire for something, Tasmat, therefore, etat, this, trayam, three, tyajet, it should abandon. You go ahead, Shiri.
These three are the gates of hell, destructive of the self. lust, anger, and greed. Therefore, one should abandon these three. The Lord indicates here that there are three gateways to reach hell. Earlier in a stanza in the very same chapter, he described that hell and heaven are conditions created by the mind only. They are merely subjective experiences in life, and the three false values mentioned here are the main causes of the former. Desire, anger, greed. The main theme of the entire chapter is to call man away from a life of sense gratification into the ampler fields of desireless actions and egoless perfections. Where there is desire, anger is a natural corollary. The constant flying of an individual's thoughts towards an object of gratification is called desire, and when the steady flow of these thoughts of aggrandizement and possessions are deflected by some obstacle, the refracted thoughts are called anger. When disappointed in desire gratifications, a storm of revolt rises in the mind, as a consequence of which anger soars up to toss, wreck, and sink the boat of life.
Okay, let's stop here for a minute, because here in Bhagavad Gita he's given a very good science of what anger is, because we have a lot of confusion about what anger is. So let's discuss that, because I think that will open it up. So does anybody want to say what anger is usually? What do they say?
It's not
ego,
only
anger,
इच्छा,
when you have
but someone सामने वाला भी कोई हमारे हिसाब से नहीं चलता है तो भी हमको गुस्सा आता है.
So is that the real, what is the cause of anger? You think
The
it's
cause
the
of
other
anger is, again, in a very subtle way,
We want
our own
Yeah.
desire, क्योंकि हम चाहते हैं कि वो हमारा बात
Right.
माने.
yeah, it's
और
ego.
हम
Yeah, it's
चाहे मुंह
our
से ना भी
ego.
बोले, अगर मन में भी अगर हम सोचें कि उसने मेरी बात नहीं मानी, और कभी-कभी somebody is higher than you, तो you cannot get angry with them, है ना? आप जो तुमसे बड़ा है उसको तो तुम जवाब फटाफट नहीं दोगे ना, पर मन में कितना तुम उसको
मन में एंगर होगा.
कितना एंगर होएगा.
So basically,
Yeah.
So you were
It's
saying
not
that-
only the
one
way
way.
में
It's
anger
just the
निकलता है.
ego,
Huh?
Mainly
Yeah.
it's the ego.
So ego
It's
or
in the way, yeah,
our own
because-
desire.
yeah.
Anybody else?
हम खुद कुछ कर नहीं पाते हैं तो अपने ऊपर भी गुस्सा आता है.
हाँ. तो अपने ऊपर भी
अपने ऊपर भी गुस्सा
so
आता
so
है.
basically
मतलब
frustration is the
अपनी जो कमी है या सक्सेस नहीं मिल पाया, कहाँ पर क्या कुछ कम रह गया है, तो हम खुद पर दूसरे पर ही हमेशा गुस्सा है, ऐसा नहीं है. हमें अपने ऊपर भी गुस्सा
So
आता है.
अपने ऊपर हो
Why I
या-
could not do this.
So now the cause of anger he has explained. कि भाई मेरे मन में एक इच्छा है, और वो इच्छा कुछ भी हो सकती है. It doesn't have to be a material object. It can be I want this person to do this way.
Yes.
वो भी एक इच्छा ही है. Expectations is also इच्छा. Everything comes under desire. And so I have this image कि मेरे को ये काम ऐसे होना चाहिए, इसको ऐसे behave करना चाहिए. और बस उसके सामने उसके obstacle बन के कोई आ गया, किसी ने कुछ नहीं किया या कुछ बोल दिया, boom. So that's what he's saying. So then it comes back to us only. It is my desire which causing me to have anger. There is no other thing. But that's why because Swamiji's language is a little bit very hi-fi, but that's what it comes down to. Because saying it's a deflected by some obstacle. The refracted thoughts are called anger. So when something comes on the way, that's anger. So I think everybody agrees that that's true. Okay, then the next paragraph.
If
open it
anger
up.
is thus the thought storm arising in a mind at the disappointment of a desire, greed is the erosion of a mental strength and inner peace when desires are more and more satiated.
Yeah, here it says satisfied, but same thing. Yeah. in my
When a
book.
desire gets fulfilled, an insatiable thirst for more and more joy holds the individual, and this endless appetite ruins the mental strength and saps dry the personality, vitality in the individual. Greed is a sense of dissatisfaction, constantly pursuing and poisoning the sense of satisfaction that we have already experienced. In an undisciplined man, there can be no satisfaction at any time. Even when his desires are satisfied, he is unhappy, because his appetite for enjoyment is thereby sharpened and he hungers for more. If the desires are throttled, the disappointment brings into him anger, and he suffers the consequent conclusion in this stanza. Therefore, one should forsake these three.
Okay, so then I know everybody agrees that those three things are, and greed. I was going to just tell you about greed. That people think how much is enough. There is no such thing as this much is enough or that. It's how much you feel the satisfied that I got enough.
Satisfaction.
And like my teacher over there in Houston used to say that there was we think that at today's world we have to have savings and we have to have this and for my old age, and we get so worked up, and you look at our closets, they are full, falling on our heads. Can't stop. And he said that there was one fellow who was sitting in front of a doctor, and he said, "Doc, I got a lot of money. I got $200. He was so happy that he had $200. He thought that was a lot of money. So, he felt so much abundance, abundance that, I can give you because I got so much money. So I thought that was so interesting that people, and sometimes I have seen personally, people who absolutely have nothing, they are willing to still give somebody else. I mean, it is just amazing.
You should see this movie called Ye To Hai Zindagi. I don't know if you have seen or not. It's by Sanjeev Kumar, and he's very poor, and he's looking for like 1 rupee, to get a lottery. So he collects from everybody and fills out this crossword puzzle. Anyway, so he needs some money. So he goes to his wife's puja room, and Krishna Bhagwan se na paise chura leta. So for this. So raat ko Krishna Bhagwan comes on his roof, he's sleeping, and he says, "Why are you here?" He says, "You took my money, I want money back." And the whole thing starts. So Krishna says, "What do you need?" He says, "I will do this with it." तो वो सब होने लगता है. He becomes a big millionaire. And every time Krishna Bhagwan comes to him, and he keeps... So it's a very good movie to watch.
Maybe you can send it, we can...
Ye To Hai
WhatsApp and
Zindagi.
we can-
Yeah, then after he gets everything, he has so many medicines.
Yeah, he says,
so
all
he
sins
says,
is
all
and
medicines
a sin.
in the back have my sin.
Yeah.
Oh, my...
That means all this you got, you're getting it. It's all your sin.
Yeah, very good movie.
Very nice it was. The children go away on the wrong path because there were lots of money.
Yeah, sometimes not having everything doesn't mean that you're going to have a great life.
Then
So,
in the end,
yeah.
he realizes that we were much better. We used to sit together, eat together. There was love in the family.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
there's a lot of things, sometimes you give up a lot of other good
And
things.
really, see, every medicine has sin behind. Mycin, chloromycin,
sin.
streptomycin. Huh?
Yeah.
That is your sin.
Okay, so now that we know that those three things we have to avoid, now he's telling you what is the path. Okay?
Yeah.
So here it is.
Okay, about the greed, I just remember something.
Yes, sure.
Yeah, that movie was on greed only.
Yeah.
This is saying, something Gandhiji said, I'll try to remember that. He said there's enough food in this world to satisfy the need of everybody, but not enough for one to fulfill the greed of one greedy person.
Right.
Really true.
I mean, that sums up the whole thing.
Yeah.
What is greed?
And last time I gave a drishtant about that one fellow came. I think that, I don't know whether you were there, it's very interesting that one Vikari comes to a king with a bowl and he says, "Can you fill this bowl?" So Raja ne bola, "Yeah, that's so easy. He filled, you know the drishtant? Kya tha wo bowl? Anybody remember?
उसका कुछ नाम था कि जितना डालते जाओ कम पड़ जाता था.
No, not bottom.
They were testing Yudhishthir actually.
It's not
No, he said कि वो तो उसमें जो भी डालते थे गायब हो जाता था, right? So finally वो बोला कहाँ से लेके आया तो क्या ये बोल तो बोला कि मैं तो श्मशान घाट गया था, ह्यूमन की खोपड़ी है ये. Human mind does not get satisfied. पूरा यूनिवर्स डाल दो फिर भी बोलता है नहीं. That was the drishtant. Okay, all right. So we can do one more of this and we can go to our Mandukya. Eiter vimukta kaunteya
Ete vimukta kanteya
tamodvaro stribhirnaraha
tamodvaro sirvirnara
acharatyan त्यात्मनः श्रेयः
आचार्यत्रात्मना श्रेया
ततो याति परां गतिम्.
शतो याति परां गतिम्.
Aite is from this, Vimuktaha, liberated. Kaunteya is Arjun. Tamodvare, gates to darkness. Tribihi, 3. Naraha, the man. Acharati, practices. Atmanaha, own. Shreyaha, what is good. Tataha, and then. Yanti, goes to. Param, the supreme. Gatim, the goal.
God. Goal, okay. You want me to read?
Yeah.
A man who is liberated from these 3 gates to darkness, O Kanteya, practices what is good for him and thus goes to the supreme goal. Those who are avoiding all 3 gateways to hell are complimented here. It is promised that those who avoid derailing themselves into any of these dangerous bypaths of self-exploitation and self-ruination will steadily progress on the straight path to their life's goals. To wander into fields of desire, anger, and greed is to dissipate our energies. Devoid of the divine vitality of a fully grown and well-balanced human personality, the seeker feels fatigued and not strong enough to meet the terrible challenges that arise from within himself. To overcome the strong temptations of the sense objects, the mind and intellect should recharge the individual's inner abilities with which the individual can strive hard and effectively achieve self-expansion. He who is avoiding these 3 gates of darkness, which are sure to lead him into deeper and deeper confusions and despairs, and ultimately take him to the subhuman level of existence, will be, it is promised here, practicing what is good for him. The term Shriyas has no equivalent word of the same import in English. It does not merely mean good, but it has a deeper and wider import in Sanskrit. Shriyas, when practiced, not only brings happiness to the practitioner, but also contributes much to the well-being of the people around him.
So here I want to just stop here for a minute because it's called Shreyas.
Shreyas.
Shreyas means what is good for you, and there are all 2 words in Gita that comes, Shreyas and Preyas they call it. Preyas means what pleases me. Shreyas is what is good for me. So we know this extremely well, and I think the best example is of that if somebody's got diabetes, and they love sweets. So like Preyas is like, I want to eat because it tastes so good, and Shreyas is no, it's going to hurt you. So I think that says it all. But the Shreyas has a very deep meaning here because it means not what is good for you, what is good for the whole world, for the community. And the reason this word is so important because in the beginning when Arjun had the nervous breakdown and he dropped his weapon and he said, first he kept talking, babbling away, and then finally he said, okay, he realized that he was just talking nonsense and, I got to stop. And then he said, Krishna Bhagwan, I surrender to you. You tell me the way. Please tell me what is good for me. He didn't say, just make me happy or take away my depression. He didn't say that. He said, what is good for me? And then there are other places also it has come where Arjun again says, please tell me, I think chapter 3 or 4 it comes, that there are 2 paths, Karma Yoga, Gnana Yoga. What is Shreyas for me? So because on the surface, the act of fighting looks really bad, right? You're killing here to kill his grandfather, but it is Shreyas. Why? Because it was needed for the society. So when we think that only good for me, that is a selfish reason. And after you think you'll be so happy because if the rest of the world is unhappy, you're going to be miserable anyway, right? In the family, the same thing happens. That we want to make everybody happy, go together. If you just think about myself, family can never be happy. So you'd see from what perspective the Shreyas is coming. So sometimes we may not have the vision to see what is Shreyas for me. But people like Purane Zamane mein joint family hoti thi, so like somebody was telling him, whenever I had a trouble, I always went to my dadi because she always had the answer because she's seen it all.
In,
You know?
in my dry cleaner, when people bring hangers back, I don't tell them, oh, thank you for bringing. I just tell them, thanks for saving the planet. Because I
I'm
want
sure.
to give them that message that
Yeah.
it's not good for
Yeah.
just for me.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
good for the whole planet.
Yeah, that's very
And they
good.
feel very proud that
Yes.
okay, they brought it back.
And
So
next time they won't forget it. They will
Yeah.
always bring it.
I said these are so hard to recycle or something. They are such a big headache for the whole universe.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
just understand that. Thanks
great.
for saving the planet.
So I think everybody got the message about Shreyas. So here he's talking about, you know, that you will do what is, you will practice what is Shreyas. That's what he's talking. Now let's see what he says now further.
Progressing thus in the right direction, the individual goes to the goal supreme. Cultural unfoldment cannot be a miraculous overnight development. The bud should grow, open and bloom under the careful nourishment of steady discipline, vigorous study, and perfect understanding. The unfoldment is more delicate than that of a flower. This stanza explains to the seeker what is to be avoided by him and indicates how he will thereby have a positive development and inner growth. But it may be asked how a positive growth can be affected as a result of a negative act of denial. Avoiding bad food can preserve health, but it cannot give the positive joy of taking a healthy full dinner. Similarly, avoiding the dissipation of energies through desire, anger, and greed would perhaps end all our agitations caused by these three. But how can that create any positive development in ourselves? The Gita preaches a positive way of life, and the stanza as it stands suggests this positive achievement when it says that such an individual practices what is good for him.
Okay, so here he's saying that how first you avoid those three, but then what? Because and he gave a very beautiful example that you avoid bad food, but you have to eat healthy then. So first you avoid those three, so it'll give you a lot of time, energy. Imagine if those three things are not there in our life, desire, anger, and greed. We'll have so 24 hours to ourselves. So now what to do? So he will practice what is good for you. So that's the conclusion here in this verse. And in next two verses, he's telling you how to guide yourself, what is good for me, because there's so much confusion. There's always dilemma, always there. So he's going to tell you that that's where you take Shastron ka sahara, you will take. That, you know, they are, and somebody was telling me that, and I thought it was such a great example, that they are like manual for us. They said if we go buy an appliance, then if we don't read the manual properly, we'll never be able to make good use of it. We'll make mistakes, and if something goes wrong, we go back to the manual. So same way, Shastras are like, that's why they're called Sanatan, right? The whole Vedas, because it has the whole manual of how you should behave and what we should do and what we should avoid and things like that, and what is mine. And the other guy, I think this morning I was listening to something, and he was saying that mind is such a powerful machine, that most powerful, and it's been given to humans, our mind, you know, human mind. And if we don't have a manual, we are in big trouble.
Yeah. Oh yes.
You know?
And we don't read the manual.
पहली बात तो कौन सी manual? We don't even know. So now he's saying, okay, the Shastras are the manual. And then the Shastras are unfortunately in a little bit coded language, and it's a little subtle. So if we just read the manual on our own, we will bomb it again. So we got to have guidance.
When we were in Gurukul, then night prayer before going to bed, we used to chant these mantras, 5 or 6 mantras, where it describes only the mind, how powerful mind is. Faster than sound, faster than electricity, faster than everything. And with each mantra it says, तन्मे मन शिव संकल्प मस्तु, मेरे उस मन को शिव संकल्प वाला बना.
So nice.
कि
Yeah.
बस मेरे मन में इतनी गति है, इतना पावरफुल है, बस उस मन को शिव संकल्प वाला बना ताकि मैं उसको राइट डायरेक्शन
Yeah,
में यूज कर
exactly.
सकूं.
Yeah. It's like atomic energy. Somebody can blow up the world or make use of it and give electricity, whatever whatever they use it for.
Arjun also complains na in Gita कि ये मन हवा से तेज है, हाथी से बलवान है. He complains.
Because when Krishna Bhagavan told him to sit down and focus, he said, how do I focus? My mind is like, he calls it like a storm. It's wind,
Yeah,
hurricane. My mind is like a hurricane. How do you expect me to? And then he told them what to do.
Yeah,
He said Abhyas and Vairagya.
Vivek and
Yeah, Abhyas and Vairagya.
Vichar and
Two things,
Vairagya.
yes. Okay, so I'm going to put this thing so we can finish next time.